Thanks for joining us for another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. Marker for the season, a third of the way through as we are here for our Week 6 review. Feels like it's flown by. We've had 2 of the 3 London games. I was there yesterday, so we'll chat about that in a bit of detail. But we've got some others in. What was a bit of a blowout week in the NFL? I don't think we had too many close games. I think 4 one-score games. And it was dominated by teams on the road. Teams at home really struggled in Week 6. We're going to review 4 of the games from this week's slate in more detail, and we'll chat through the rest of the games through our fourfold challenge overview and ATS Picks, and we'll chat through kind of how our bets were as well. Joe, you've been celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving, a bit of a blur for you yesterday by the sounds of it. How was Canadian Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was good. It was technically today, but we celebrated yesterday because we had today off work. So when you're having a few drinks, it's always nice to do it on the Sunday and know that you don't have to work the next day. So yeah, it was really fun. So been a good weekend here in Canada.
Excellent, good stuff. Byron, how was your Week 6?
Yeah, it was good. A lot of football. We're getting into fall weather now, so getting a bit crispy here. But those nice crisp mornings. But yeah, football was good. Less said about Dallas, the better. But I think we're getting into like the meat of the football now. I feel like that first few weeks is a bit random, bit like what the hell is going on? And you still get a bit of that, but I think kind of this week was maybe like I don't know, like teams are becoming who we think they are, maybe a bit more. But yeah, it was a really fun one.
Excellent. Sadly, we are going to have to talk about Dallas because that's one of the games we've chosen to look at in a bit more detail. So we'll get to that. We'll kick off though in jolly old London. The Chicago Bears strolled into town and demolished the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think is the best way to put it, 35-16. I was there yesterday in attendance at the game. It was awesome to see Caleb Williams live and in person, to be fair. So I've been one of his kind of vocal critics, certainly on the show so far, but he played really, really well yesterday. Seems to have kind of settled down and found a groove. Chicago look like they're going to just beat up on these bad teams. So if they've got the bad teams in the schedule, they're just going to take care of business. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, truly terrible. What an awful football team the Jacksonville Jaguars are. Guys, what did you make of the game? I know it was very early for you two guys to watch it yesterday.
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely bang on, truthfully. It did feel a bit men against Boise, and it felt a bit... I mean, there was a clip of Doug Peterson on sideline. It looked like Doug Peterson was very emotional. Like, he looked down on his luck, I guess, and, like, he kind of knew that this was... I mean, he knows it's not going as he wants it to, but, like, I'd probably like to play poker with Doug Peterson if that's how he, shows his emotion, because he didn't look happy. He just looked like a defeated fella, to be fair. But, I mean, Caleb Williams, I think, is looking better by the week. It does help when you're playing Jacksonville, obviously. They've not had the roughest schedule yet, Chicago. But, there is that cliche, if you can only beat what's in front of you. And they're looking really good doing it. He's looking really good doing it. I think he's looking more and more like a complete quarterback by the week. There was an interesting thing about Shane Waldron, who's now scripting the plays, the first 15 plays of the game. And they weren't doing that previously, which I don't know of any NFL team that doesn't do that, which is really odd. I didn't know if OCs needed, told you meant to script plays. I thought that was just, one of the universals of calling football games. Like, you script out the first 15 plays. But it seems to be working for them to do it, so you'd think they'll keep doing it, and they probably should have been doing it to start with. There was one touchdown I really loved in this game, though. Cole Kmet's, the kind of, fake left, fake right. Cole Kmet dagger down the middle. And I think it was Devin Lloyd, the linebacker on the play, who completely lost Cole Kmet in the first place and then looked like, I'm going to say me, because, you guys run and probably work out a bit. I don't, for my sins. He was, walking to try and catch him up. And it's like, bro, that's a NFL player. You probably got to need to at least hustle. And he didn't catch him, unsurprisingly. But it kind of, I mean, that isn't when it showed Doug Peterson on the sideline, but I think it could have been. I'd like to have seen Doug Peterson on the sideline at that moment, because Devin Lloyd is literally walking towards his tight end target, who is scampering into the end zone and knocking someone else down on the way. And it was such it's a simple play call. You need your line to hold up a little bit to get that left-right dagger out. But it was just so nicely executed. And Cole Kmet's actually looking pretty good this year for a player who's been up and down in his NFL career, and I thought would have a pretty bad year, to be fair, because of Shane Waldron's connection with Gerald Everett. But he's looking like one of the top 10 tight ends in football at the moment.
Yeah, I had a great game yesterday. And Joe, you cashed the over 3.5 receptions for Cole Kmet. That was one of your bets for the game. And that was done by the half. He had the 2 touchdown receptions in the first half. Looked really good. And also put in a great performance as an emergency long snapper as well.
I was going to say, I should have tried to double up with 3.5 snaps as well.
3.5.
Which would be interesting. But yeah, he had a lot bigger game than I expected. Also, I expected him to get to at least 4 receptions, which is not crazy amount. But yeah, with the 2 touchdowns as well, he was one of their big players. But I think with the game, it was like a strange game to start with because obviously the Bears went 3 and out in the first 2 drives, and Jacksonville had that long drive of 14 plays, 67 yards. They got all the way down to the Chicago's 8, and then a false start, which feels like just typified what the Jags do, where they have 1 foot forward, 2 steps back all the time, where they have such a good drive. They have to settle for the field goal. But then, then the Bears go 3 and out again, and you think, oh, Jags might be in this. This might be, them to turn up. But this is what I think what the Chicago Bears have. Feels like the start of the games, all the games slow, because I think it was announced that I think every game they've been behind. Yeah. But the defense manages to just keep them in it when the offense is not, when the offense goes 3 and out twice. The defense manages to hold the Jags to 3 points, and then they hit the 7 points, and then it felt like they just had the stranglehold where, the Jags went 3 and out, but then, Williams had the interception, but then the Jags go 3 and out again. And it's that kind of thing what the Bears do, what the Jags don't, where when the Jags offense is not firing, it feels like that defense can only do it for a couple of series. They can't do it for a full half, and then suddenly they just drop off, and the Bears get 2 touchdowns before the half, and the 14-3 up. When how the first half went, you were like, on the balance of it was fairly even, I felt, but one team has a great defense and the other team doesn't, and then it just felt like it just wasn't going from there, and then obviously coming out the half and fumbling on the first play and then being down 21-3. It just felt, it didn't feel like it was over because obviously then the Jags got a touchdown back, but then, the Chicago Bears went all the way, but then they got a touchdown and a touchdown again after another interception by Trevor Lawrence. But yeah, we had this conversation last year. Where are we at with Trevor Lawrence? Because even last year, it was like, he's supposed to be this number 1 pick, the bee's knees is going to take over the league, and he feels like he's very average. I don't know. He's obviously got the contract, which Jacksonville did right, but where do you see him now as a quarterback after 4 years?
I mean, after seeing him again yesterday, obviously got so many of these bloody Jaguars games get seen quite often now. But yeah, I think he played. I think he did okay yesterday. He didn't have a bad day yesterday. I don't think he was just pretty solid. That you mentioned that play for the first play after halftime, that's the killer. That was the game lost. I know kind of the score. It was 14-3 at the time, but Evan Ingram giving up that, just something so simple, just fumbling that ball and giving it to the Bears, and the game was over at that point. Then that was it, and then. You just no way the Jags were going to come back. So it was just silly things like that. And then Jags defense not be able to get off the field, giving shoe penalties away when they should have got there. The Bears are like 3rd and 18 and then give up 2 or 3 consecutive penalties that made it a short 3rd down. But yeah, I think I'm still undecided on Lawrence. I think he's okay.
I don't think he's the problem. Ultimately, I think immediately, Caleb Williams is probably now in a better position than Trevor Lawrence has ever been in. And that's hard to overcome for years on end. And I mean, how many, I think it was 2. I'm saying how many touchdowns were dropped in the end zone yesterday?
So yeah, that was another point I was just going to come across this day. I think it was 4. And
I remember 2, but yeah, you go ahead.
I think it was 4, yeah. So there were 4 maybe inside the 5 catches, but yeah, certainly definitely 2 in the end zone. And they initially looked like really good plays from Bears defenders. Actually, they weren't. They were just straight drops. Gabe Davis had one. I think it was Brian Thomas Jr. another one. Yeah, Gabe Davis ran to it, and then I think there was 3 on one drive.
Mm-hmm.
3, yeah, it was just crazy. Like Lawrence putting the ball in the perfect spot, and what can you do when the guys just don't haul it in? So I don't know if that had made a different games. It was a bit later on when they were kind of already down and down big. But yeah, I don't know, Joe. I think the jury's definitely still out on Trevor Lawrence.
I would say he always does. Like, I think he has these games where it looks good in part, and then he just throws like a boneheaded interception where it's just like, you just can't do that, where it's just like, oh, come on. And you see it every week. I think that's the thing with them kind of interceptions. And obviously last year was the fumbling where how many fumbles he had. And it feels like this year it's just like underthrown or overthrown interceptions where it's not like the defender's done something amazing. It's just a bad throw and he's getting punished. That I think he's just, obviously he's coming to the league being, he was at the next like Peyton Manning or the next, I can't think of whoever the next
Andrew
one.
Luck.
It was the next Andrew Luck, like supposed to be like hit this league by storm and be like up there. And I just don't think he's been. I wouldn't say it's a top 10 quarterback, and I think that's probably a disappointing. If you are the Jags, what you thought you were going to get. I know it's not the best situation, but still the top 10 quarterbacks change.
This is what we were with him. Is this year 4 now? Yeah, this is year 4 of Trevor Lawrence, isn't it? It's 21, 22, 23. Yeah, 24. So I think maybe you'd certainly expected to have him to progress a little bit further, for sure. But at the same point, I'm not sure around what's around him as well. And look, I think he's going to have, I think when we get to start 2025, he's going to have another new head coach, and that'll be a third one in 5 years, and potentially another new scheme, another new offensive coordinator. It's just, we've seen the guys go through these situations and not having any sort of continuity. Really, 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 really becomes a struggle. But yeah, 35-16 to the Bears. Bears go to 4-2. Look like they're definitely going to be in the mix for a playoff berth. I think they've got a bye week and then a very intriguing game against the Commanders coming up. Jaguars stay in London, face the Patriots next week. And you would think if they drop that game next week to Drake May and the Patriots, Doug Peterson isn't getting on that plane home.
That'll be an awkward flight home if he's been fired. Not good. But it was a great day yesterday. Yeah, I mentioned it was there. That was the first one I felt that felt like a true home game. For the Bears.
It was, there was so many Chicago Bears fans there that come from America, the UK guys, but that truly felt like the Bears was dominated. So you always see shirts of everybody, jerseys of everyone, but it really did feel like a dominant Chicago Bears.
Seen a lot of the Bears fans in like the Saturday Night Live get up, like the Bears sweatshirt and stuff like that.
The Ditka,
yeah. So that was pretty fun. And I did see our buddy Captain Duval on Instagram saying like, "Hey, Jags fans, come on over. Let's make this a home." And it's like, "Oh, good luck, buddy."
There were Jags fans there. Sadly, we didn't get to catch up with Captain Duval in the end, but great that he got to the game. But we did see Baldy and the Big Fella, which was really nice to catch those guys. So I jumped on their show the other week. So Chris, the Big Fella, is a big Jacksonville Jaguars fan, so it was cool to see. Cool to see him, Chris and Mark. I don't know if I should be giving away the real names there. Just stick to Baldy and the Big Fella. It was also cool to see. It was also cool to see Gamit. I got to see Gamit from Fantasy and the guys from Fantasy Gameday. Just walking down the street, just bumped into him luckily, and stopped and had a chat, which was awesome. And also got to see the Saints guys as well. Dan and Mike from the Saints City and me stopped and had time to have a pint with those guys as well. So yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Sadly, get to see everybody. We missed a couple of guys, but a couple of guys that we planned to see. But yeah, just a great day, great atmosphere, and great day. It's a great place to go watch the game. That Spurs Stadium is awesome for NFL. And as it was a bit of a blowout, the stadium-wide rendition of Green Bay Suck for a while, just to kill out the time from the Bears fans, which is always good fun. So yeah. Great week in London. That's 2 of the 3 London games down, and Jags Patriots next week. Hopefully, it ends up being a good game because it looks like it's going to be an awful game written all over it. Moving on. This is the first time I think we're going to say this number this season. Big given the games, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Saints 51-27. I think it's the first 50-burger of the season. What an absolute bonkers game. I mentioned it in the preview. I think we clipped it and put it up, but not necessarily down to him, but just any game that Spencer Rattler is going to be involved in is just going to be absolutely nuts. me and Jenny had headed to where we were going to watch the NFL, the 6 and 9 o'clock games after attending the game. And Jenny Saintsman was mortified when we walked in, and it was 17-0 to the Buccaneers when it first flashed up on the screen as we sat down. But 10 minutes later, the Saints were winning the game. It was just bonkers. Where to even start? It was just crazy game. I think kick-started it, I guess, potentially as Olave got brained and knocked out the game with a concussion. Bucs were able to return the fumble for a touchdown, and then Baker starts turning the ball over, and the Saints start taking it back. Rashid Shaheed kick-started things with a punt return touchdown, just all the bonkers plays going on.
Yeah, it was. I like we've got the medical definition there of what happened to Chris Olave as well. He got brained. I wasn't sure what exactly had happened to him, but yeah, brained it was. Yeah, it was really good. Just a really fun game. But I don't know what's happened to the Saints, but it feels like they've caught that Bengals disease from early in the season. They don't know how to make a tackle. Chris Godwin looked like, I mean, I don't know superheroes, so I don't know how to pick one here, but like, if the Incredible Hulk could run, I presume he can't because he's really big. But yeah, someone who knows more about superheroes can maybe insert one that can run in there. But yeah, Chris Godwin's just like breaking tackles, like catching a general flat and then just beating like 8 Saints and just running into the end zone from 50 yards out.
And that was so big as well, because that was 27-24 to the Saints at that point as well. And yeah, it was just like there was one guy just stood there. I think he was Willie Gay, didn't tackle him. And then I don't know who it was, number one, just came in and just like, he didn't even tackle him. It just like went to like hit him with his chest and be able to like stand over him, but just bounced off him. And then you can see him chasing after, thinking, "Shit, this is going to be on. This is going to be on tape." He was like the one from like sprinting trying to chase him. He's just like, "Oh, you just cannot do that." But yeah, it's great. It's nuts that the Saints scored all the 27 points in one quarter as well.
Yeah, it was just like a 12-minute spell. They scored 27 points. It was bonkers. It didn't score in any other quarter. Yeah, it was bizarre. Byron, you were unlucky. So one of your bets, obviously, that you put was the rushing leader. You had Bucky Irving at 20-1. I think it was the right read, but yeah. So Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker both had 14 touches, and it was Sean Tucker that went off. I mean, Irving had a decent game as well, but Sean Tucker went for 14 carries, 136 yards and a touchdown, with another 3 grabs for 56 yards and a touchdown as well. But yeah, right read with Rashad Wright being out, just the wrong guy.
Yeah, I thought you could run on the Saints. Sean Tucker, in his career, his highest career rushing game going into yesterday was 15 yards.
And I think we're talking about that this year as well. He's had 2 rushes for 7 yards. That's been his whole year so far. So we're talking about what the odds would have been, even if it would have been available. That would have been if anyone put that on, then you've well done. You've won betting. So,
yeah, I think they've got the Gifts Almanac if they put that on, because Sean Tucker's done absolutely nothing. Maybe just give Bucky Irving them carries.
Bucky Irving ran well, to be fair. Yeah, the Tampa Bay, it's kind of the second half they really took over rushing, and for the tune of 35 rushes for 277 yards, just short of 8 yards to carry. And it was you mentioned the Chris Godwin play, the Bucky Irving run as well. I think where it looked like like he was going to get taken down. He bounced off 3, and all of a sudden that's a 40-50 yard run as well. It was just a struggle for the Saints to get off the field, especially in that second half. What do we make of Spencer Rattler? Just joked. It wasn't joking. Serious games are chaos, but I don't think he had a bad game. Given obviously it was his first start, short week as well. They played on Monday where Derek Carr went injured. He didn't come in that game. It was Jake Hayner, and then he starts. I thought he did okay given the Nuts game and first start and all.
Yeah, absolutely. He certainly didn't give the game away or anything. I think his talent was fairly visible. He made one throw down the sideline. It might have been to Bud Means that I'm not sure if Derek Carr could have thrown, to be fair, because he has got a bit more of an active arm than Derek Carr. I don't think Derek Carr's actually that bad. Relatively, I think that he'll come back in once he's fit. But it sounds like it might be more like 3 to 4 weeks. So I guess we will see how Rattler does. But I was pretty impressed with him, to be fair. I thought he might be a bit more raw and a bit more YOLO-y, a bit more loose cannon-y. But I thought he was pretty good, to be fair. I was quite impressed by him.
Yeah, Saints dropped to 2-4. That's 4 defeats in a row after that start where they were early season darlings after those kind of 2 big wins over the Panthers and Cowboys. Tampa 4-2 look like they're in the groove now. It's a big one for the it's the Sean Payton revenge game next for the Saints against the Broncos on Thursday night, which should be an interesting one. We'll talk about that a little bit at the end, so I won't spoil it now. And then the Bucs keeping pace with the Falcons. I think the Bucs Monday Night Football next week, or the Bucs on a bye. Monday Night Football.
Yeah, against the Ravens.
Yeah, Monday Night Football against the Ravens.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, which should be a good game in Tampa. Cracking game. We'll talk about the Ravens now. That was the link. That was the whole point why I set that up. Yeah, Ravens Commanders. Master outlasts the apprentice. Is that the fair way to describe this? With Lamar and the Ravens edging out the Commanders 30-23. I say edging out. It looked well in hand for Baltimore for the majority of the game, didn't it? Another it was split. I mean, Lamar Jackson a 300-yard game, Derrick Henry 130 yards on the ground, and a career day for Zay Flowers, 9 grabs for 132 yards from Flowers. What do we make of this matchup of kind of the pretender Jaden Daniels against the Ravens?
I think what the Ravens did well was I think they limited him rushing wise, and I think that's what he's been. That's what's helped him this year because he only ran for 6 carries for 22, and I think what Daniels has been able to do this year is get out of the pocket quite a lot and get them first downs when it isn't working. And they had a few where they had to set up for field goals where they were fairly close. Obviously to scoring, and they tried a few rushes and they just went nowhere. They blew up, and it's just that kind of thing. What I think Baltimore does well, and it just helped them to keep the score manageable. Because I think he still had a big game throwing wise because he still put some yards on there. I just think there was a few too many times where they had to take the field goal instead of punching it in. So I think he still had a great game, and if he said start of the year the Commanders would have been 4-2 and actually kept pace with the Ravens, and it wasn't too far off, then I'm guessing any Commanders fan would have snapped your hand off.
Yeah, and I think it's important. The game isn't Jaden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson. I think, to be fair, if you swapped the 2 quarterbacks, I think you'd probably ended up with the same result. To be fair, Washington are a new coach, new GM, largely a new team, really. Whereas Baltimore are very settled. Obviously, they've had a lot of upheaval in the offseason, but relatively very settled. A very, very well-coached team every week. So, I think Jaden Daniels, like Joe said, done really well in the situation there. I think, like I say, if you swap Lamar and Jaden Daniels, I think you'd have still had the Baltimore win. So, just a really fun game, I felt like. And also, give, he didn't have Brian Robinson yesterday. Give him Derrick Henry in that backfield. And again, you might see a different result.
Yeah. Brian Robinson big miss yesterday, and they did really struggle to run the ball, the Commanders. And on the other hand, Derrick Henry certainly didn't struggle to run the ball. Another big game from the King. Ravens 4-2, kind of after those first 2 losses. They're rolling now. Commanders must fancy themselves here. They've spent the next 3 weeks. They've got Panthers at home, Bears at home, Giants on the road. They've got to be thinking at worst we go 2-1 there, and they're 6-3, kind of at the midway point, in a real strong position to win that division.
Yeah, when you look at the rest of they've got the Steelers, where I think that could be a toss-up. The Eagles could be a toss-up with how Eagles are playing. They've got the Cowboys, again, another team they could actually be, and they've got Titans, Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. So there's no one rest of the way they'll be massively underdogs like they were against Ravens. I think they'll be, some of them games will be 50-50, but quite a few of them, they're going to be heavily favourites. So,
I mean, there might be an underdog on the road against the Eagles, and then there could be a favourite and it could be a favourite in every game they're out, and depending on how the results go. But think if they can get to 6-3 by the end of week 9, you're in a real strong position. We're playing the Cowboys twice and the Eagles twice to go and win that division. So we'll see.
The record's one thing, obviously, and that's all. That is ultimately what matters. But in that NFC East, they're the only team with a winning point differential. I know the Eagles have only played 5 games, but through 6 weeks. The Commanders are, the Eagles are -6, Giants are -25, Cowboys are -42. We'll get onto them soon. And Commanders +33. So I know that isn't everything. Like the record says more than anything else. They are 4-2, which is obviously top of the division as it is. But to be that far clear of everyone, I think by point differential kind of shows how they are operating this year. They're not fluking wins. They're not squeaking by. Even yesterday, it was a push on our sheet. I think it was a push on.
It was -6.5, and it finished.
Okay.
It closed at -7, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got it when it was 7 on DK, so it was a push on my sheet on my fourfold. But yeah, okay, so it was they just didn't cover on our sheet, but yeah, pretty much covered essentially. They're not getting blown out anyway. Is kind of what I'm getting at, even when they do lose to really tough opponents. I think it's I didn't see the Commanders going in the playoffs this year, so full credit to Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury and Jane Daniels, and that all line's really looking not perfect, but much improved from what I was expecting. I thought they'd be one of the worst offensive lines in the league this year. That's why I really feared for Jane Daniels taking hits and such like. Whereas, yeah, that all line has really, really stepped up this year without any big name additions to it. So
yeah,
great coaching, great player.
Yeah, and who said Dan Quinn was the problem in Dallas? Let's move on to the Cowboys. Cowboys got humiliated again at home. Their worst home loss under Jerry Jones. So that's since 1989. On what was also Jerry Jones's 82nd birthday. Happy birthday, Jerry. And I was wishing he died in a helicopter crash. The Cowboys got beat 47-9 at home. Just another shellacking. An absolute mauling. Where do you want to? So should we start with the Lions? Let's start with the Lions.
Yep.
Let's start.
Lions are great.
Lions are very good.
Yeah. One of my favorite plays of the week with a neutral hat on was, David Montgomery's touchdown in itself was great, just how David Montgomery ran. But there was a certain aspect of it, and you'll have seen it, was Frank Ragnow versus Mazzy Smith, and Mazzy Smith decided to wear roller skates for the occasion, apparently, because I can't think how to describe it other than that. Actually, the other night I was in my apartment building and I had to go back down the stairs because something fell out my pocket as I was bringing the dog back in. And I thought, I'll just go back downstairs backwards rather than trying to turn on the stairs with Charlie because I had stuff in my hands. And I missed the bottom step and nearly went backwards and fell through the wall. And I imagine how I looked, that lack of grace and, like I said, just missing one step and nearly falling backwards through a wall in my apartment building is how Mazzy Smith looked yesterday, I'm going to say trying to push Frank Ragnow. Like I say, it looked like he was on roller skates and it was his first time. He touched Frank Ragnow and Frank Ragnow essentially carried him for 10 yards and drove him into the ground. It was humiliating. It reminds me, and again, you'll have more knowledge of these things, like, when Oklahoma or Alabama pay a team $1 million to come and whoop you early in the season, it looked like that, and this is the Dallas Cowboys. It is unbelievable how much better Detroit looked, and I think we all took the Lions on the spread, to be fair. They're one of my bets of the week. It's just men against kids in coaching, in execution, in physicality, in execution. Just everything is not there for Dallas and it is there for Detroit. Detroit are playing so well, so they've come off the bye.
Wish a couple of people would get executed in Dallas, but yeah, the Lions were tremendous. They had, I think it was 6. Was it right? 6 players. 5 players with over 50 yards. Rushing, receiving, and Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't one of those. Like it was just, it was coming from everywhere. Montgomery. I try to be positive about the Lions because they're raised. They're just by thinking about some of the stuff, it instantly has negative Dallas connotation. But yeah, they ride so well. The lines, both lines of the Lions were phenomenal. That old line, as you mentioned, that example. There was 10 clips of what happened to Mazzy Smith across the D line. O-line was really impressive as well. I think just the one downside for the Lions, Aiden Hutchinson, horrific leg break. He just kind of is like one of them MMA leg breaks that you see where he's just like smashes against the teammate's shin, and his leg gives away, and it was horrible. I stupidly saw it on Twitter again. I wasn't looking for it, but it popped up and it was gross. And then the poor bastard had Dak Prescott fall on the broken leg because the Dak part of the sack was just falling backwards. Dak sat on the broken leg, like just not what you need. And that's from fun. So he's had surgery that he's definitely done for the season. Hopefully, he can come back from it. But where's that leave the Lions in terms of the D-line? Because he's such a huge factor for them on that defensive line. What do you think they'll do? Do you think they'll go out and get somebody? How do you think the Lions play it?
I'm not quite sure because you can't really replace him. When you got all these big teams, they normally have that one superstar who everyone talks about, who everyone tries to stop, and he was theirs. Like how many? I think he was leading the pressures by miles compared to any other defensive end. So I don't know what you can do. I don't think it'll affect him too much in the season itself. It just might be when you get to the playoffs and you got these big games and you're playing against other great teams. When you just need that, we've seen it with the Chiefs where, 2 out of the 3 Super Bowls have probably been won because Chris Jones has just absolutely destroyed their defensive line, and he's managed to disrupt the quarterback. And if he wasn't there, it could be completely different. And I think he's the guy for the Lions where you need one player, you need someone to do something. And then if they don't have him, who's going to step up? Because, you can't just get someone who's just going to replace him. So it'll be fine during the season itself. It'll just be, I think, in the playoffs, I think he's going to be a massive miss because, like I said, you've got, Bosa for 49ers, you've got Watt for the Steelers, you've got Parsons really for Cowboys. So each team, like Chris Jones, each team has that player to make that play, and they've lost theirs. So yes, I think they've just got to play that team defense. I think they've just got to as a team. But that defensive, the only positive thing is compared to last year, I feel like the defensive backs are better than they were last year. So it's not all about relying on Hutchinson. They've also got them to help as well. But yeah, it's a big loss. But yeah, not quite sure what you do.
I mean, there's some interest. Look, there's one particular team who are going through the mill with it at the minute. It was really struggling, and people, somebody's already asked for a trade there.
I know who you're going to say. Yeah,
Max Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, you'd explore it. I'm not sure what the contract looks like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like just on paper, you'd certainly explore it because
he signed a 4-year, $94 million contract in 2022.
Okay,
and you have to pay Hutchinson soon as well. I'm guessing it might be next year.
But look, this is that thing, isn't it? Around you have the team to win it all now, and you are missing something, and you potentially have got the opportunity to go and, maybe with the way that the Rams did in terms of it. And it wouldn't, I don't think we quite mortgage in the future in the same way that the Rams did by just giving up everything. But obviously, you need it and it's going to cost you more. And, in this case, the Raiders would take more than maybe you should give up to go get Crosby. But
what do you think it would take?
It'd take at least one first and a few other picks, wouldn't it? Surely.
Yeah. First and a second, I'd say. And just because where the Lions are probably going to end up in the draft is going to be pretty low down.
Yeah. The Lions have got $28 million in cap space, so they're well positioned. If they wanted to go make a move and make it happen, they absolutely could do, and then work out the rest down the line. With quite, and like I say, if you got him, it's 2 years into a 4-year contract. You could decide to let him go. You had the options. You've got the flexibility to do it. And look, you've drafted so well already that in terms of if you were missing a few draft picks, I think they'd be able to cope with it and be okay. It's just a thought, but I don't know if they.
And the future's the future. Like, you win now. Like, I'm not saying you give up everything there is, but I agree. Like, these are the kind of shots I think you should be looking to take because, now isn't forever. The Lions aren't going to be in a Super Bowl window forever. As much as we love Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson, there's a good chance Ben Johnson leaves after this year.
Can we just say fuck Ben Johnson? The first time he ran the play to get the old lineman to score, fair enough. When they were already up 4 scores, doing it a second time. Go fuck yourself, Ben Johnson.
I
No
disagree.
need for that.
If you don't like it, stop it.
Stop it. Yeah, that's fair enough. And they did, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. No alignment scored. So, yeah.
But I understand
that's the Dallas thing. You're not allowed to, all linemen aren't allowed to score in Dallas Stadium. So
I understand the first.
As part of the lease.
I understand the first one. Like, I suppose the difference was why it kind of tipped me off watching it, but the fact they were trying to do it last year to win the game, I was like, that was real ballsy. You're 4 scores up here. Like, if you did it earlier on in the game when it was still a relatively close game, again, fair enough. You're doing it when the 4 scores up. I just thought it was just a bit unnecessary.
I'm all for it whenever. So
but so fuck Ben Johnson.
You don't like it, stop the team doing it. Is my approach. Like when people used to get upset with Cam Newton doing his celebrations. You don't like him celebrating? Well, stop him celebrating. I think there's a few names to consider those lines as well. Like Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati has been an unhappy soldier there. Jadeveon Clowney maybe as a mercenary 1-year kind of guy, not going anywhere in Carolina. But the one that most intrigues me is, speaking of mercenary, Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
He surely ain't going to play for the Jets. His agents have fucked him off at this point. Now they're leaking stories about how he cost himself money. I'm probably not who's leaking them stories. Are coming out 2 days after his agents sack him. So, I'd give the Jets a call and say like, hey, you want to get a 7th-round pick for your failure? We need a pass rusher. You need to get him out of the building because he's never going to play for you. It's a lot cheaper than Max Crosby. It's a lot less production than Max Crosby, obviously. But I'd rather have Max Crosby. But I think he's one of them players that you should just pick up the phone and just say like, hey, Hassan, you're going to play on the deal that you've got. We ain't going to pay you any extra, but go and put yourself in the shop window.
Yeah, to get paid, you might get yourself a ring as well while you're at it. Yeah, it's probably a much better shout. Okay, so that was the Lions. Good. Let's address the bad. I don't know who wants to go first because I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to. Again, I was looking at the point differentials this morning. Because I do find that interesting a little more than the pure record of teams, and just how fraudulent the Cowboys are at 3-3. So the Cowboys, as I mentioned earlier, are -42 in point differential. The only other team who've won 3 games and have a minus is the Eagles and the Seahawks, who are -6 and -4. Like the Raiders 2-4, -54. The Titans are 1-4, -14. The Browns, who Dallas absolutely whooped, are 1-5 and -46. Like that's more the company they're in. They're not a 3-3 team. Yeah. That is fraudulent. They're just not. I don't know what they have going for them. Like,
that's not for one positive. Oh, one defensive player didn't give up. Donovan Wilson was out trying to take people's heads off, and that was literally about it. The only positive, and it was barely positive because he also had some general terrible play as well. Yeah,
Turpin looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think I need loads of them kickoff returns.
Yeah, he's racking the volume up. And again, like I don't want to be like smart after the event, but like neither of us were high on the Cowboys. I think I was a little lower on them coming into the season. We knew this was going to be a dog shit year, but it's embarrassing the effort level, I think, at this point of just it's a team who've given up. And like you can't trade CeeDee Lamb, obviously. But I'm not expecting anything from him this year, like in terms of being CeeDee Lamb. Like it's not there. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks. But
it was just truly off. And you knew. I think I knew sitting down watching the game when they had to settle for the field goal on that first drive. I was like, they're fucked here. They're absolutely fucked. They moved the ball really well, and then all of a sudden, red zone problems again. Same again. It's the same thing. Red zone turnovers. Lamb and Prescott are just. I don't know what's going on with them. They're just not on the same page at all. It's a bad front, but they're just not on the same page. That red zone play calling is terrible. That's on Mike McCarthy. They can't run the ball. The offensive line, which we talked about before, which used to be a strength. Probably the one thing out of it all, so many horrible negative things, but Zach Martin getting just ran over. Yeah. And you're like...
last year, I think.
It's time in it now, yeah. Like when that starts happening, so somebody who's been so good for so long, and he's still your best offensive lineman, and he got ran over time after time after time. You're just like, it was just a terrible, terrible watch. Just the bits again, just the notes I touched. I mean, David Montgomery ran the ball 12 times. How many broken tackles do you think he forced? On 12 rushes.
More than 12? It's going to be my guess, because it felt like he got like 5 on that one touchdown.
There was 5. It was 10, so not quite one of them, but 10 and multiple on that touchdown run where 3 or 4 had a shot at him. Cowboys have also have equaled the record. They are tied with, I think, a late 80s Raiders team, 4 consecutive times going down by 50 to be down by 15 or more points at halftime in 4 consecutive home games. The Packers playoff game and the 3 games so far this season, they might break that record. They're on a bye week and then they're on the road. But yeah, I mean, the Niners are going to kill them, and then they're at home to
Falcons.
2 road games. So they're away to the Falcons, and it's Eagles at home.
Yeah, that could be fun.
The Eagles could be the team then to put that 5 consecutive home games up by specifically 15 points, but 2 scores.
Yeah, certainly wouldn't be out of the realm.
Yeah, it just doesn't show any signs of getting any better. You've got the bye for the Cowboys. You've got at Niners, at Falcons, who obviously the Falcons are rolling a bit now. At home to the Eagles, which with your state of your lines is going to be awful. At home to the Texans, and then you've got the Commanders. They might lose all 5 of those games.
Yeah, I think when I was watching now from my standpoint as a non-Cowboys fan, obviously I think the scary thing I saw was how, like you mentioned, the missed tackles, and then how many big plays are given up as well, if it's on the ground or through the air. Just looking at the longest from each receiving. So Williams 37, Raymond 38, Tim Patrick 42, Laporta 52. They're like huge, like longest players, and they're huge. And that's not even like, there was so many times when I was watching it this morning, just how many like lanes were just open for the running team. And that's just the issue is it feels like all the big teams in the NFC, they all start with the running game.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel like the 49ers, the Lions, the Packers, the Buccaneers, they're all like the big, they're like how they establish themselves is the ground game. So if you're doing that, and then you can get these big players working off that, so I think that's a worry. And on the flip side, it's what the Cowboys just don't have. They just
can't run.
They just can't run, and that just puts Dak in a position where he has to throw it. And even before that first interception, I think it was a throw before it was intercepted, but there was a flag. But I don't think that really affected it, because I think he overshot him by quite a bit. So I think when I saw that, I was like, oh, that must be the interception. Oh, okay, he let him off there, and then he threw the one straight afterwards. It's not good. And then when Cooper Rush comes in and then also gets an interception in the red zone, it just feels like that red zone in Dallas is cursed. So yeah, being 3-3, that's probably the biggest positive about the Cowboys this year. How bad they've played, that they're still at 500, but they've got some big games coming up, and like I said, they've got the Niners next after the bye week. Hopefully get some of their big players back, like Parsons. And
is Parsons going to make a difference? I don't think he does.
I don't think he will. I don't think they'll get blown out like this, especially because the Niners got the Chiefs next week as well. So it's we'll see where that leaves them. So, but it's it's a scary thought, especially how good the Commanders have looked, and how the Giants are looking competitive as well. It's not that kind of year where the division it's between 2 and the other 2 are dog shit, and you just basically able to beat up on them. It's a scary proposition where I don't think they'll lose the next 5 games, but if they're doing a 3-8, that's see you McCarthy. Let's see what happens, and especially after paying all your big players, it's not even like how are you going to get in these youngsters or get people on big contracts when you've already paid them out, and you got to pay Parsons as well.
Well,
you just need to draft better. I think that's another issue.
That's been they had they've been pretty good at that, and that's tailed off completely. Yeah. Where they've missed time, missed over these last few years as well. They need Bland back. They need they need Parsons and Lawrence back, and they need just somebody on that interior defensive line to step up. I think.
Need a clean sweep is what they need.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. He said he was again. He doubled down on McCarthy again because why would you sack him when he's just going to contract's going to expire?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what's the point? Because also, what's the option? Because if you sack McCarthy, I think you also need to get rid of Zimmer, and then you have the special teams guy Bones. He was a previous interim coach when Jeff Fisher got sacked by the Rams.
Yeah.
You can have him lead the team for 10 games? No. So, yeah, I kind of think they're stuck. So, no matter how bad it's McCarthy's and get fired.
So when I say a clean sweep, I don't necessarily mean this week. Just like
just in general,
end the season, clean sweep. And you say Dallas have to pay Micah Parsons. I mean, if you're Detroit, you're not picking up the phone and be like, hello. How about Micah comes to the Motor City and replaces Aiden Hutchinson? Or, compliments Aiden Hutchinson in time. Probably not going to happen. Jerry's way too proud to ever do that. But
yeah, the other plus point was obviously Brandon Aubrey. He's obviously class, and he just another heel. So I think I shouted out in the preview. I'd always be tempted just to bet the over for successful field goal in Cowboys games. And they both Bates hit one that would have as long as I think it was 46.5. That number was going to get closer and closer to 50 for Cowboys games because Aubrey just very rarely misses. Aubrey another one from 50, so that cashed. And some good results for you guys as well. So Joe, you cashed Lions over 1.5 rush touchdowns at plus 155. Byron, you took the Lions -3 at -110, and Jared Goff over 275 passing yards at plus 200. So some good work there from you guys. We had 15 minutes on the Cowboys there, so I do apologise, but
I do have one last point differential fun fact that I noticed going through everything. I'm going to do it as a trivia question there. So the 4 best teams in point differential this year have one thing in common. Would you like to guess what it is? Or do you know what it is?
4 have one thing in common.
So they are plus 41, plus 47, plus 60, and plus 63, the 4 best teams in point differential this year.
Are they all in the same division?
They are all in the NFC North. Great shout, Joe.
Go.
Yes. They are all 4-2, 4-1. Like they've all got 4 wins or more, basically. What I was trying to say, one's got 4-1. Packers at 41 are the 4th best team in point differential, and they are the worst team in the NFC North by point differential. Very impressive.
Yeah,
the only time it's ever happened through a full week, pending tonight, in fact, because the Bills are plus 36. So if they beat the Jets by 6 points or more,
they could crash the part.
Yeah. So I'm getting that fact out while it's relevant.
Excellent. Yeah, although by the time this gets released, it possibly won't be. It gets released in the morning.
Let's keep this one relevant overnight.
Let's go Jets. Right, let's get into the rest of the games and we'll cover these quick because we had almost 20 minutes just talking Dallas there. 4-4 challenge. I guess the stories are, I guess you are still struggling, aren't you? Joe and the captain. Right. Joe and the captain were 2-2 this week. Byron, you went 1-3, and I was 3-1. Although, how many underdogs covered did we say, Joe? Was it 2?
Just 2. Just the Colts and the Browns.
So
the only underdogs I've covered.
Yeah, tough this week to do it. So unless it was on one of them two. And we'll get to that game because fuck the Colts as well for playing fast and loose with the injury report as well. That's not cool. But Joe, we'll start with you. We'll talk through the games that you've had in yours. So you had the Broncos as 2.5 point underdogs against the Chargers. And the Chargers just absolutely dog-walked them 23-16, but it wasn't as close as that.
Yeah, I think I was celebrating Thanksgiving at this point. I had a quick look at the score, and I think it was 20-0. So I was like, okay, that bet's certainly lost. So, I was surprised just because how good I think the Broncos have certainly improved, and Bo Nix looked a lot better. And I knew the Chargers defense have started well, and obviously they've made a massive change. But just to be down to the Chargers that much was a surprise. Like I said, just how the Broncos defense have been, but gave it up to Harbaugh. Did you actually see what? Because I saw the reports that he had to go off because he was ill. I don't know if anyone actually saw what happened.
No, heart arrhythmia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like an unusual heartbeat. I think he's 2-0 when he's had it. He said he had it once in San Francisco, and he was fine. I don't know exactly what you do to recuperate that or to rejigger it, But yeah, because I've seen some people joking on Twitter that he'd shit himself. But no, he had like some kind of heart flutteration or something like that. But yeah, not the first time it's happened for him, and he was fine, thankfully. So
yeah. But yeah, Chargers just absolutely bashed the Broncos 23-16. Chargers got to being 23 up before Broncos scored twice late on. And yeah, just they ran the ball 38 times. It's just the hallmarks of a Harbaugh team, aren't they? Rushed the ball 38 times. As a just absolute boss time possession. I think it was 37 and a half minutes to 22 and a half. So yeah, just killed it. The Broncos were just struggling to catch up. And yeah, Byron, you cashed in this one. The Dow TD, anytime TD?
Yeah, Kamani Vidal.
Kamani Vidal, yeah.
Scored a touchdown on his first NFL touch, 38-yard catch, which I really didn't expect. And I thought, he'll probably get going in this game, but I didn't think Kamani Vidal so soon. So
that might be gag of the season. That was excellent. Yeah, plus 650 or 13-2 in old money. Yeah, great one, and that was probably the biggest. Was that the biggest odds bet we cashed? I say we. I didn't have a great week, but between years, yeah, I think so. Plus 650.
So,
yeah, which is a great one. Yeah, we talked about Commanders Ravens. It just squeezed the over in the end, Joe, for you on that one. Over 51.5. It did get there at the end. Cowboys Lions under 52. Sadly, it wasn't, and the Lions nearly covered it all. But you did have the Falcons as your favourite. In the end, a comfortable win against the Panthers. The Panthers threatened to keep it close for a while before kind of the Falcons pulled away in the second half, 38-20 to the Falcons.
Yeah, beat the battle of V versus U. Paul went with the smart option, went with the Falcons, and
all right.
Yeah, the Panthers just doing what the Panthers do. I feel like the last few games they always get up early and then they just fade away, and then you have big games for Robinson and Drake London again. And I don't think, because we went Kirk in the Fantasy Gameday, it didn't have a huge game what we expected, but they did enough just to comfortably win this game and keep running on. And it was just talking about the under as well, because I had a quick look. There was only 4 unders as well this week as well. So he did well to pick one of them. We go into yours, Paul.
Yeah, I didn't. Like I say, it wasn't one of my separate bets because I picked 5 and fucking missed them all. But yeah, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson combined for 200 rushing yards. Robinson 2 touchdowns, Algier for 1. Yeah, so sadly for us, for our Fantasy Game Day, we had Cousins and Mooney, and that didn't really pay off. We took Bijan out after he had and ended up having a big game as well. So, yeah, Falcons 4-2, Panthers move to drop to 1-5. On to mine, the Bengals is my favourite, -3.5. I've just watched the highlights of this evening before we started. Didn't get a chance to watch the game last night, but a struggle, and I'm a bit worried from what I saw, a bit more worried for the Bengals. I know we talked about they absolutely had to win this one, and it was must win, and they did win. But Jesus Christ, did they make a meal of it?
Yeah, it wasn't a great watch. It was a really poor Sunday night football, truthfully. I think I don't have the count on how many punts it was, but it felt like there was one every second drive. Well, more than every second drive. It was just punt.
10?
Not much. Only 10. It felt like a lot more, but I mean that's the problem with Island games when they're not good. Like everything feels worse than it is because it's the only thing you're watching. That's why Red Zone is such a great blessing when you're watching another game. Because if that game's not so good, you've got Red Zone. Something's always happening. The Bengals just looked fine enough.
Just when they got when they got a touchdown straight away, I bet I was thinking, they're going to absolutely pile on the points here.
Yeah, here we go. It's going to be
7-0.
It's going to be a Joe Burrow breakout game. It's going to be a huge one. And I had him for 3 or more passing touchdowns. So I thought, here we go. Obviously he gets his rushing one, but we're going to get cooking soon. And it just didn't happen. Giants defense played okay enough. Giants offense didn't get anything going. I don't think the Bengals defense played especially well, truthfully. Just felt like more Giants offense just couldn't move the ball. Another week of no Malik Neighbors, which kind of sucks because immediately after he got his concussion on Thursday Night Football, it was like, I'm fine. And now it's 2 missed games, so I'm not too sure what's going on there, but it's never a good sign, is it, that you miss 2 games with a concussion?
Because it was 2 weeks from Thursday Night Football. It's also like 2.5 weeks, isn't it, since that happened?
Exactly, yeah. So, in terms of total days, it's a long time. So hopefully he's back this week. Hopefully he's in good health, because there's been no report other than he's not clearing the concussion protocol. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But unsurprisingly, with the way he's been playing and everything we know about him, like, the offense takes a huge ding when he's not there. Wan'Dale Robinson is kind of like what I would call like a PPR cheat code in fantasy football, because he just gets a billion targets and does absolutely nothing with them, but he just gets all these catches with no impact, essentially. But if you play PPR fantasy, then that's good enough, because 8 catches get you 8 points, even if you only get 13 yards on that. But it's no good for real football, obviously. I think that it's hard to judge, you're back to Daniel Jones looking like Daniel Jones, but he hasn't got, again, a wide receiver, so hard to judge him too harshly on it. I did like the Andrew Thomas, Trey Hendrickson battle at left tackle. It felt like they just left him on an island the entire night and committed everybody doubling up on the other side and like, please do try and take care of Trey Hendrickson. I think Hendrickson ended up with 2 sacks on the night, so he probably got the better of it overall. But it was a good battle to watch, and I mean that's kind of the Sunday night football it was, that you were watching the left tackle versus the edge rusher. So.
Yeah, it was a weird game again. I only if you've seen the parts of it, that it was just that one Joe Burrow rushing touchdown that separated them until 5 minutes to go at the end of the third quarter. And the thing is, the Giants had a shot at a fumble recovery to get the ball back and drive to win the game. I think it was Chase Brown fumbled it, and somehow they didn't pick it up and knocked it out of bounds. And in the end, the Bengals get a rushing touchdown to ice it. But my God, the Giants could have got that ball back and scored and won it. Special team problems still continue for the Giants, as Joe just mentioned in the chat. I think Greg Joseph, they missed 2 field goals. They really need Graham Gano back sooner rather than later, because obviously it's causing them a whole lot of problems. Giants 2-4, as are the Bengals. Bengals have got the Browns next week and looking to get back towards 500. But I'm more worried for the Bengals now, because I thought they'd win this easy and get going. And I'm a little bit more worried than I was before for them. The Saints Bucks over, which we talked about, over 1.5. I was on the Panthers, as Joe's already mentioned, so that was what missed me. But I obviously threw in my 4 hit. And Browns Eagles, I was on under 42.5, and I don't know what I want to say about Deshaun Watson. Is this just like his penance or his karma that he has to go on like a nationwide tour of just being fucking shit for all his crimes?
Feels like he gets off very light because he gets $250 million to do it. I just think Deshaun Watson doesn't give a shit. He doesn't play like a player who cares. He doesn't. But I mean, also, like, I don't want to say why would he? Because like the entire point is like, when you're that kind of athlete, you care because you care. He looks so checked out that I don't know how he's still a starter. Stefanski's came out already and said he's still the starter. No idea if that's Stefanski making that decision or not. I mean, at this point, I kind of just presume it is Stefanski making the decision, because I think we would have some kind of leak saying otherwise at this point if it wasn't. And I think, I don't know, it feels like the media are so keen to give Stefanski a break of like, oh, well, it must be the head of front office or ownership making that decision. It's like, well, we've no idea who's making the decision. Ultimately, the coach is the one who's coming out and saying he's in. If Stefanski is being told that he can't drop him, then fair enough. But as it is now, I'm just going to blame Stefanski because he's the head coach and he makes the decisions as far as I know. I have no idea why they're still starting him. There was that incredible stat. I can't remember who it was who actually brought it up. It was on Twitter, but it was like a big name, like a Michael Strahan or somebody like that. Who said it on Fox or ESPN, wherever they were working. I think it was 26 straight third downs, and the Browns were 0-26, which I don't know how you do that. Like, that feels...
That is, like, yeah.
And I think at one point they were 0-25, obviously, and then their first third down of the second half, they converted it and it got called back for a penalty. And I just nearly died laughing watching it, because it was just, it was just like a comedy film. Where like they finally get it. I don't know if they were aware of how bad their record is, like in the huddle or what have you. But like as soon as that flag came in, I was like, please be holding. And I don't know what the penalty was. It was offensive anyway. And yeah, they had to go back and not make the third down, which took them to 26. It was absolute gold.
It's broke the street though. They did convert a few. Later on in the game. Well, it is hilarious. Just unbelievably bad. And I mean, speaking of which.
The next word's going to be Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni chirping the fans at the end. What is he doing? And then took his kids to the press conference.
Unbelievable. Like I've seen Steph Curry do that when he won the NBA championship title, whatever you want to call that, award trophy. And it was cute. Nick Sirianni's bringing his kids there as fucking shields, so that the journalists don't go, "You are a piece of trash. Why are you being a dickhead?" Because you can't do that when he's got his toddler sat with him, because they are human beings. It's staggering. I'd be stunned if Jeffrey Lurie is the Philadelphia Eagles owner. If he's not saying to him like, "Buddy, you've got to like act like a coach. Like this is not acceptable." He doesn't have the cachet to be this much of a prick. Bill Belichick can be as much of a prick as he wants when he's winning 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Like, this is like Arthur Smith in Atlanta. Like, you ain't good enough to be this much of a dickhead.
Yeah, the boos were raining down at the link in this one quite early on. They were just not impressed.
When you look, I know they may have won, but they weren't playing a great team and only just about winning on a big play to was it Devontae Smith where they got the touchdown at the end. But it was like a close game from then. Obviously, special teams letting them down again. Typical Eagles with the blocked. Was it a punt or field goal?
Field goal. My God, Myles Garrett. Just unbelievable play. Yeah, just jumping through the line, getting that big paw up. It was incredible play from Myles Garrett.
They're starting to do something where one player puts his hand on the snapper's back so then the other person can jump over. I wonder if they're going to the legal start looking, because I think someone did it last week as well.
That was in the Giants game. The Giants.
Yeah.
There was like 4 blocked field goals last week, weren't there? Yeah. But I think it was the Giants one, yeah.
So I wonder if there'll be a new rule coming in at some point or to start. I think that counts. But the Eagles were impressive. I know they lost a few players as well. I think Jordan Mailata went out with it was a hamstring. So again, it's another NFC East team who are not looking that good, even though they're 3-2.
Yeah, Goddard went out, Slay went out, Mailata went out as well. So Eagles banged up. But return of AJ Brown. It was kind of probably the highlight for the Eagles. Did 6-4 on 16 and a touchdown. And you mentioned kind of that Devontae Smith play. But struggled, but they got the win. 3-2. The Eagles, the Browns dropped to 1-5. And really, really struggling. Byron, yours, we've talked about the Lions already. Lions killed the Cowboys, -3. You were on the under for Steelers Raiders. That was anything but. I think it was 32-13 to the Steelers as the Steelers moved to 4-2 and the Raiders dropped to 2-4.
I got to plead ignorance on this one again. Second week in a row with the Raiders. I thought it was the Steelers under that I was getting, 36.5. So mea culpa. I won't make that mistake 3 weeks in a row. I thought it was the Broncos under last week. I thought it was the Steelers under this week. And I mean, I nailed both of those. But again, they are counting the Raiders scoring as well, which didn't work out for me. So, I mean, Najee Harris, though, where's that come from?
Yeah. I mean,
it's like Jalen Warren's now fit. So it's like, oh shit, I got to do my job. Busting through tacklers, though. I thought that was really fun. I like watching Najee when he's good. He's a real kind of old school running back. So that was fun to see. Fields was okay enough, I think. Not incredible, but just that running game really got going, which is what Arthur Smith and Tomlin wants, and they were really comfortable, I felt, in this game. Feels like, once again, do we know what we're getting from the Raiders any week? I guess maybe we're getting close to knowing what we're going to get, and we don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I think we're Aiden O'Connell thrown in.
Christian Wilkins out for the season, it sounds like. It just that defense has gone from being like in the preseason, it sounded like it's going to be one of the top 10, top 5 units in the NFL. And maybe, I think we kind of said this on the preview show of the AFC West of, is that defense looking so good because they're going against the Raiders offense? And it feels like that probably was the case.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like it's going to end well for the Raiders. We know Devontae Adams is going to be on his way out. Somebody will trade for him at some point. Either ones are going to go, I don't know. They're just not real. And the only bright point is Brock Bowers going to get 9 grabs for 71 yards again. And looked pretty decent when he gets the ball. But yeah, it was a real mess for the Raiders, who had some hopes coming into the season of being decent, and just it's just not turning out that way at all. The Steelers move on 4-2. You think we're going to get any noise about Russ potentially forcing his way in?
I think Field would have to lose the job at this point. Not to say he can't, because he certainly can. But I think Field would have to lose the job at this point rather than Wilson take it, if that makes sense. I think that's just Tomlin's way.
Yeah. Steelers move on to Sunday Night Football against the Jets. We're in for 2 shitters in a row here after the Bengals Giants. Could be a rough one. Raiders, I've got the Rams, who've had the bye this week, might be a bit healthier.
That could be a bad matchup, if not, though.
Yeah, that could be. You were on the Commanders as the underdog and Bengals Giants over, though. No shot in hell. So you were 1-3. That leaves us Joe 9-14-1, Byron 10-14. I've got a winning record. 12-11-1. The Captain Duval was our guest this week. He went 2-2, so he had the Lions as his favourite and the over in Jags Bears, which I got. I didn't share it as one to share, but it was just a personal over. As I was attending the game, about bloody time one of those games was, and he was on the Jags as his underdog and under for Lions Cowboys. So 2-2 for the Captain to leave the guests at 10-13-1. So I think it's me, then the guests, then Byron, then Joe in our full challenge. So close. How many times is that? Second or third time I've been 3-1. Second, I think it must have been. Yeah.
What, since the start of 2023?
This fucking guy. Right, move on to our ATS challenge, and we'll cover off the 3 games we haven't talked about there as well before having a look at Fantasy Gameday and then wrapping up with a look at Thursday Night Football. All winning weeks for us so well. Actually, I could end up 500, but winning weeks for you two. 9-4 so far, heading into Monday Night Football. For you two guys, I'm 7-6, so I need a Jets cover to keep a winning record, but still a little lost ground on you two guys. Joe, just to talk about. Actually, I've not put the Niners to talk about, but Thursday Night Football quickly. Just the Niners, comfortable in the end over Seattle, 36-24.
It wasn't comfortable for me. I'll tell you that now. It was such a typical Niners game where they were ahead by 20 points just after halftime. Special teams being absolutely dog shit as they've been all year, letting a kickoff return, and then suddenly a short series, and then Seattle score another touchdown. You're like, here we go again. They've blown double-digit leads twice against division opponents, and Seattle had chances. To be honest, Seattle had chances to actually win this, and it was just a few Geno mistakes, I think, and the DK, I think it was more or less his mistake for the second one where he went where the Green, the rookie cornerback, got in front of him to get the interception, which helped them score that touchdown, and it was fairly I say straightforward. Seattle made it interesting again, scoring a touchdown in the end. And what was Guerrero doing, mate? Get your touchdown. Rookie winning back. And then scoring straight afterwards as well. That's the worst thing, giving it to Juszczyk straight afterwards. I felt so sorry for him. But it was a typical San Fran performance where they do this. I think last year was the year that didn't do it as much, but under Shanahan, they love to get in the lead by at least 10 points and then throw it away and not be able to. And similar to the Cowboys, have struggles in the red zone. I think that's the biggest problem they've got right now with not having McCaffrey. Because when you win they get 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. Should have had another fumble recovery from the punt, which was a bit dodgy. That they challenged it. They said no, it wasn't, and then they showed the TV screen again when it was a 1-1. But hey ho! But to win the turnover battle by that many and still be a close game, it's something what is in the 49ers DNA this year. But they needed that win just to get a level pegging with the Seahawks, and that division is another one of them where 3-3 is currently the top, so that certainly helps.
You cashed your over 3.5 field goals at +130, and I was on the 49ers -3.5. In that one, we talked about the London game already. Both of you two were on the Bears. The Packers, we haven't talked about the Packers game. We're all on the Packers, and the Packers wiped the floor with the Cardinals, 34-13. Pretty good day at the office for Jordan Love and the Packers. It's a real solid day.
I think it helped by Marvin Harrison going out relatively early, to be fair. again, maybe doesn't have the impact of Malik Neighbors on his offense, but he's a real big impact there. And I think that kind of, even early on, kind of marked the demise of the game being a competition, I think, for me. But yeah, it was nice to see Jordan Love slinging the ball around. I think Romeo Dubs, I think he had 2 touchdowns, right? But he had that really good one in the end, right at the end zone where he had to like adjust and then step back in bounds essentially and come in with it. And I think that's just kind of shows real good management from the Packers, the way they handled Romeo Dobbs. He obviously wasn't happy with how the game plan was coming for the prior week. Suspended him for missing training. No drama. Comes back in the next week, gets 2 touchdowns, and seems like it's all forgotten about, which feels like some players and teams could maybe learn from. Like, you know, a little tiff doesn't have to be a career ruiner or a, connection ruiner. You know, you don't have to end up releasing or trading the play. You can just say like, hey, that was unacceptable. You don't do that here, and we'll move on next week. Jordan Love continues to look very, very fun. But you'd like to see him because the throws are really good, but like there's a lot of. Did he have another interception yesterday? Yeah, just one interception, but like it felt like there could have been a few. Where I've seen a really good tweet, and annoyingly I can't remember who it was. Where it's like there's somebody in Green Bay who has like just a switch between Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, and they keep pressing it for Jordan Love. Like he'll have all these great plays where he's playing like Aaron Rodgers, and all of a sudden it's like, just YOLO a few balls, Jordan. Why not? And it's like, well, the why not is because like come the playoffs, that's not going to be. Again, like kind of said about Aiden Hutchinson in the line, like when it really matters, that really matters. They're really fun to watch because of it, and that receiving core is. It's a bit no-namey, obviously, in terms of the draft capital, and they're not paying anyone, but like they just all complement each other so well. They've been so well built. Brian Gutekunst is the GM there, and I think certainly on offense, they've done such a good job. So, and Arizona.
I would say it's like the two teams, like it's Jordan Love and the Cardinals, who feel like very boom or bust. They have like 1 week they'll like have an amazing, even like during the game they'll have like amazing players, and then suddenly they'll throws a few interceptions, like you said, and that's why I chose Love for the Fantasy Gameday when we did the preview, just because he could have one of these games where he scores 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception. He gets the points, but it doesn't help that when you go into halftime, I think it was 24-10, and the Cardinals would like come back a little bit, and they scored a field goal, and then the next 3 possessions were fumble. So that's how you not win games in this league and get blown out by fumbling 3 series in a row to end the game.
I think kind of, a bit before we were talking about, the Cardinals, these Cardinals are like real fun. I think that's gone now.
But I think it's these games where they can have the games where they can be fun. Like it was fairly fun against San Fran last year, and then they'll have a week where they're just shit. So I think that's the only fun thing is where the other team can probably put some points on them, so it makes it at least one side. It's not like when you're watching Pittsburgh where it's not fun usually, either side of the ball.
I mean, it's 3 of the last 4 weeks, kind of. The Lions, where we thought it was going to be a real fun game, it wasn't. They got battered by the Commanders. Obviously, they pulled off the upset against the Niners, and then they were crap again this week. So I don't know. They've got the Chargers on Monday Night Football next week. Prime time next week is not looking good. And then the Packers have got the Texans in what looks like a real good game. So that should be a fun one. Packers Cardinals, and mentioning the Texans. You two were on the Texans. Why on earth did I put myself on the Patriots? Why did I say and Drake May and the Patriot jerseys? I think was the reason why.
Drake May looked fun, though.
Yeah, Drake May did look fun. He can get the ball down the field, which Jacoby Brissett couldn't. And he only got sacked 4 times.
Yeah, that's still a lot, though, isn't it?
that is still a lot of sacks, but a couple of nice touchdown passes, and I don't know. They're going to be a lot more watchable. I think the Patriots than they were. So hopefully a treat for anyone going to Wembley next week.
I would say the biggest shock with them is more their defense. Again, coming into this year, coming into this year was like, well, that's going to be their strength. It's going to be low scoring games. Now this is to start out with that Bengals win. But we know how the Bengals have been playing, so right now it's not, massive. But they're 23 against Seahawks, 24 against the Jets, how they're looking, 30 against the Niners, 41 against the Texans. I know there was 15 against the Dolphins, but again, it's how the Dolphins offense. So it seems like when we were coming into this year, like because of some Mayo staying, thought that's going to be the same defense. It's not quite worked out, and yeah, there's already some rumblings in that place where some people are not happy. And
there was an alleged mutiny, which led to Drake maybe named as the start. So I kind of thought, and I think the Patriots as a whole did play better, but certainly, that might have lifted some performances up. So it wasn't enough. Texans had the way with them. Again, another big game on the ground, 192 yards on the ground. Joe Mixon back, another 100 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Damian Pierce had a relatively big day for 8 carries as well. And yeah, Diggs, Dell, Mixon had another reception through the air as well. It was just, again, just really spread out. And Texans at 5-1. And maybe this has been the most complete performance so far.
Having, you just said his name, Joe Mixon back really helped, I think. Just having a bit more of a balanced offense. I mean, considering this was also no Nico Collins, who is really the heartbeat of that offense.
First game and a half, Nico Collins, yeah.
Yeah, come back soon. But yeah, they didn't seem to miss him. Against, like we said, Patriots defense, it isn't holding up, but they do seem a lot more well-rounded with a good running back in there. No offense to Akers and Darryl Gabonwale and etc. So, yeah.
I need some more big Joe Mixon games after he missed a couple of weeks to get my 1,000 yards bet on him. He's creeping up to 300.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, Texans, as mentioned, already play Packers next week. Patriots play Jags at Wembley. 5-1 and 1-5. The Patriots. Last game, again, fuck the Indianapolis Colts for their approach to the injury report. How did Michael Pittman go from week to week to he's playing in the space of a day?
Not even week to week. It was like week to week to probably going on IR to he's fit. I think it was Joe Flacco starting. And he was like, Flacco started. Oh, that's feeling good. Oh, yeah. Just what I needed. I'm not going to get the ball pinged at me in 90 miles an hour, and I'm going to have to leap in the fucking air to get anywhere near it. Joe's playing. Oh, I feel fine, yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. Back injuries are weird that they can come and go pretty easily, but like to be near on IR to playing is wild.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is being smart and how much of that is bad medical diagnosis in the first place. I hate the idea of teams being this smart with the injury report because it sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible.
What also sucks is Will Levis.
Will Levis, yeah. Do you think he's done now? I think we're going to see Mason Rudolph, surely. Like, to not be able to put up yards and points against this defense that's been so bad through 5 weeks.
I think they'd be better off starting Mason Rudolph week to week. I don't know if you need a longer look at Will Levis to decide if he's the future of the franchise. He's not. Like, I can tell you that now, but I don't work in the building. Calvin Ridley wasn't impressed after the game. I don't know if you've seen his comments because he was 0 for 8. But I don't know if you've seen somebody released a clip on Twitter of all of his targets from yesterday. And if that's 8 targets, that's grossly unfair on Calvin Ridley. Because, I mean, there was one of them where he wasn't in the shot when the ball landed. Like, can you call that a target if he's literally not in the picture? I don't think you can. 2 of them, I think, were intercepted that were not on Calvin Ridley. I think realistically, you could have said there was 3 targets for him in that. One of them, I think he should have came in with a catch for like 8 yards, but he immediately ran into triple. Like, he had a player already on him and he ran into 2 more players as he was catching it and dropped it. Shout out me for betting Calvin Ridley to be the receiving leader on the day.
Just missed.
So, I mean, he had no catches on 8 targets, for no yards. So, yeah, he didn't place. But, yeah, the 8 targets is grossly inaccurate, just like Will Levis. I honestly think you could call it 4 targets, maybe a push, and 3 of them. I didn't realize how bad it was watching it on Red Zone. I didn't have this game on as my main
It didn't
game.
crop up much, yeah.
Yeah, you looked at a rough game. When you even look at the yards, that Levis only got less than 100. Flacco 8. And then when Tyler Goodson's your main running back for the Colts, it's like, it's not looking like both these teams. And the fact that Joey Chestnut's cousin's playing, Julius Chestnut, got 1 carry for 2 yards. It's it's not looking. And the Colts are similar to the Cowboys. Like, how the hell are they 3-3? I was high on the Colts coming into this year. I've been very disappointed all around, and they've had some big injuries. But the fact they're 3-3, that's probably the biggest positive for them because they haven't looked like that kind of team.
Yeah, I know how they beat the Bears and the Steelers.
And the Titans actually have looked good in some games where they've been close, and they're 1-4. But I feel like it's still in the end for Levis, and I wonder if they'll be one of them teams looking to get a quarterback next year.
Sure.
Good job he got his Mayo endorsement deal early, wasn't it?
Cash it while you can, lads, because it ain't going to be there forever.
Oh, he's going to the Patriots, isn't it? The double Mayo. He's thinking.
Well, I think that's how he likes his sandwiches as well.
Right, let's move on.
I do like just one quick shout out before we do move on. Josh Downs has looked really good since he came back this year. He missed the first 3 games, I think, through his eye ankle. His first game back here, I think he was a bit quiet. But the last 2 weeks, he's looked really, really good. He's one of my sneaky favorite players in the league. Obviously, he's not like a wide receiver 1 by any means, but he just always gets open. I love watching him play.
Yeah, is there a bit where you really do take your time with Andy Richardson because you're at a point here 3-3. It could have been a disaster. Realistically, the Colts could have been 1-5, or even 0-6. They have been realistically that bad.
Yeah.
They go, we're going to be potentially in the mix here, and Flacco gives us the best chance to win. It'd be not madness to do, but given that it's the number 4 overall pick that's invested in Andy Richardson.
Yeah. It's tough. I would be patient with him because I think you need to see something in training to be like, why are we being patient? Yeah, you can't. I think it'd be kind of. I don't want to say negligent to throw him out there when Flacco's playing fine, but it feels like it would to a degree, like in terms of your locker room. And as wild as this is, the Colts are in the playoffs as it stands. They are the 7th seed right now, which is kind of insane. But
and they got the Dolphins next week.
So it's the Dolphins next, but then it does toughen up. It's the Dolphins next week, then it's Texans, Vikings, Bills.
So the thing I was going to get at, though, is like they're not picking in the top 5. And it's a quarterback poor class by all accounts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they necessarily need to make that decision on Anthony Richardson come February, March. Because I don't think they're going to be in a position to take another rookie high enough for it to be like a franchise-changing decision. The Titans are going to be picking in the top 5 the way things are going. And Will Levis, I think, has looked worse than Anthony Richardson. Well, they've both looked bad, but Will Levis has had a lot less high. Yeah. Like, I think it's a lot more clear that Will Levis isn't going to be an NFL starter. Anthony Richardson has had spells where you think, oh, maybe it's there.
Yeah.
A lot more you think it's maybe not. But, I wouldn't rush Richardson back while things are going fine. Yeah. I just don't think there's a need to.
Fair. Just a quick summary before we go to the Fantasy Game Day. A couple of other sort of just bets that we've missed off. So we had a quite successful, we did Bengals Giants, forgot to mention it. We had a successful 3 out of 5 hit on that. I was on the Bengals. Byron, you had your halftime, full-time, Cincinnati. And Joe, you had your T. Higgins over 4.5 receptions. And then Joe, you hit a plus 583, so we shot a 6-1 parlay. The Bucks minus 3.5, Bengals minus 3.5, and Steelers minus 3. Good work. And Byron, you hit your 6-point teaser, which was Eagles minus 2.5, Bucks plus 2.5, Steelers plus 3, Lions plus 2.5 at plus 296. Just short of 3-1. So some good wins this week.
She needed that plus on the Lions.
Yeah. Excellent. Let's have a look at the Fantasy Game Day team. This is for the conscious as well. We need to be clear. This is for the £7.50 entry game, so the original Fantasy Game Day game, Sunday Stars game. There are 3, and there's going to be more. Speaking to Gummy on Sunday, again, it was awesome to see him, but he was saying that they're going to look to offer more and more games and different games as well, so not just kind of the daily fantasy games, so some other stuff as well. Which is going to be really, really cool to see. So we're just going to be spending even more money on Fantasy Game Day. But if you've not played already, make sure you do. Go download the app, use promo code COVER. They've got entry games, and it might be another one for next week. But as we stand now, there's a £3 per lineup, a £7.50 per lineup, and a £25 per lineup, which launched this week. This winning lineup was from the £7.50 games. It's the one that we play. And it's the original one. And shout out to Coral 2027 with a winning score of 185.96. We were terrible, 197th with 127.8. That's 4 weeks in a row. We've been horrible at this after a good start, so we need to book our ideas up. B. John is Sorry?
We're the Saints.
Yeah, we are the Saints. 2 and 4, yeah, terrible in terms of prize placing for Fantasy Game Day. But we're going to be on it next week. I'll wrestle control of it because you two were awful. Again, I'll let you two do it, and you were terrible, just as bad as I've been. So
there we go.
Yeah. Although the 2 lineups I led cashed, so.
And then the next 2 you led didn't cash. So
yeah. All right. Let's go back to Coral 2027.
Yeah.
Bijan was the captain. 95 yards rushing plus the 2 rushing touchdowns for 51. Hurts, a solid, if unspectacular game from Hurts. Bucky Irving, pretty solid outing, 18.5 points from Bucky. Good value. I wasn't sure what the price point of Irving was, but certainly been good value. Austin Eckler chipped in with 10. AJ Brown, who was our captain. Zay Flowers in his career day with 22 points. Najee Harris, that we already touched on. And Trey McBride, we didn't mention that in the Cardinals game, but he'd have a solid game, the 8 for just short of 98. Was it just short of 100? So, the tight end's finally starting to get a move on. We saw Mark Andrews had a big game. Joe left him on his fantasy bench. Sam Laporte had a huge touchdown. Tight end's making a comeback this week.
Yeah, it feels like an unnecessary shot at Joe there, but yeah.
As usual.
Yeah, Rashad White was 4,200 and Sean Tucker was 2,200. So, there would have been your big savings of the week But if one of us had suggested putting Sean Tucker in, I think the rest of us would have advised they go and get the head examined. So,
well, who did we have in? We had the Packers' second running back, didn't we? Emmanuel Wilson? Was it Emmanuel Wilson? No.
We did on my initially submitted one. I don't know who we ended up submitting, to be fair, but that was.
Let's not start pleading. No, we're not doing that.
I don't know if we ended up leaving him in because we did swap it around. And I mean, Emmanuel Wilson went 7 for 54 at a $2,000 price. Or £2,000 price. That's not too bad. Do I have my lineup on that I suggested? So I had AJ Brown captain, Kirk Cousins who underwhelmed, Emmanuel Wilson who was fine for his price, Bijan who was good. Drake London, who was good. Jalen Talbot, who done jack. Sam Laporte had 1 catch for 52 yards, but it was a touchdown, so pretty good. And Jaden Reed, who I think was okay.
Jaden Reed, okay.
We wouldn't have won it with that lineup, though. I'm not trying to...
When we regretted swapping Bijan out, but we moved it around so we could get Derrick Henry in.
We got Derrick Henry in, yeah.
Yeah. So who scored more? So, yeah. It was a point less than what Bijan got. So
it's equitable.
Yeah. But anyway, enough arguing about our team. Yes, congratulations to Kyle 37. Go play Fantasy Game Day and have loads of fun with it. Loads more coming from those guys, which is really cool to see. Right, last bit of business. Sean Payton revenge game for Thursday Night Football. This is one of the ones we penciled in as a big revenge game. But
I love the
Bucks Broncos at Saints on Thursday.
On Thursday Night Football when they show who's going to play next week and they have Drake May, Trevor Lawrence. This one it was Sean Payton, Cameron Jordan. And all I could think was, man, I wish Celebrity Deathmatch was still around because that'd be fun to watch. Just Cameron Jordan smashing Sean Payton's head to pieces.
Well, he might just do that anyway on Thursday. Who knows?
He might, yeah. But like you said, it's going to be a rough primetime week this week. That's going to be a rough game. No Chris Olave.
This is very much like getting towards the middle of the season. Yeah.
This is classic Thursday Night Football.
Saints are 1 point favourites, over under 37.5. Where are you leaning for Thursday Night Football?
I would take the Saints pretty happily there. Did you say it's a -1 or +1?
Saints are 1 point favourites, yeah.
Yeah, I'd take the Saints happily. Even with no Derek Carr and no Olave, I just think that Broncos passing game is when Bo Nix has to drop that back and pass, he can't do it. All he wants to do is scramble. And I kind of understand because he doesn't have the weapons and he doesn't have the ability, truthfully, to have a drop back passing game. But yeah, with no Pat Satan, that's a huge one, obviously. Kind of cancels out Olave, but I think it's even more impactful for the Broncos defense than it is for the Saints offense. I just think you can scheme offense a little easier. Kamara, Shaheed. Kendra Miller's off IR, so that could be interesting to see if he gets going this week. He wasn't activated for the game. He was still out for the game, but he was activated off the IR. So we'll see if they get him rolling on Thursday on a short week. Yeah, I just think the Saints are a more complete team than the Broncos, and I think that I have such worries about that Broncos offense. I know they finally got going yesterday once the game was out of hand, but I don't see them doing it in a competitive matchup.
Joe, thoughts where you leading?
I think the Saints. Just I think it's going. What's the over under?
37.5. I'm thinking more Spencer out of the chaos.
It's tricky because, I would say it feels like the Saints defense started well, but they just absolutely shit the bed the last few weeks. So I'll probably go over there as well. And I'll just, let's say a Marvin Mims gets a touchdown for Byron on a Thursday night football. So let's get Mims back in. Is he Shaheed and Mims like your favourite two players against each other?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's probably up there, yeah. Mims has fell out of love a little bit because he hasn't done as much this year. And last year he was actually exciting when he got the ball, which is why it was more frustrating he didn't get the ball. Whereas this year everything kind of sucks in Detroit, certainly doesn't, in Denver. But Shaheed's certainly one of my favourite players, yeah. I could watch Shaheed every day. Excellent. A little fun fact, the Saints have lost their last 5 Thursday games. But annoyingly, I haven't prepared a number 1 song for the last time they won on Thursday Night Football. So.
Oh, you can do that for preview. Okay, excellent.
And we'll get Charlie Pick locked in early as well for this one.
Yeah. I mean, is he on strike or what's going on?
No, but he fun Charlie fact. He has been wearing a sock because he's got a little infection in his right front paw. So he's had to have a sock put on to stop him chewing at it. And he is nominated our vets for the cutest Halloween contest. So seek out West Osha Vets in Salem, Wisconsin, and give Charlie a like if you're so inclined for his Joker costume from last year. So
pretty cool.
He's currently leading the competition. So I need to start spamming that on Facebook and stuff to get more people to vote for him.
Excellent.
But yeah, he's not on strike as far as he knows. It's just I've been unprepared.
He's on IR. Is what he's at the minute.
Yeah, he's got his little sock.
Holy paw. He's got his holy paw on IR.
Turf.
So we'll reopen it. We'll open his practice window soon and get him back for the remainder of the season. Right, enough dog NFL player jokes. That was the Week 6 review. Make sure you follow us as always. Good teams win, great teams cover on Spotify. You'll be notified when a new episode drops. That's Tuesday morning, Friday morning for our reviews and previews. Preview will be on Friday morning. We've got a New England Patriots fan guest joining us as the Patriots are in jolly old London. Hear about his thoughts on Drake May. So it should be a good guest. And then make sure you're following along across all of our other social media channels. GTW_GTC on Twitter /X, for Instagram, for YouTube, if you want to see us while listening to us, and also on TikTok when Charlie will be activated off IR, and you can get Charlie's picks as well. So thanks for listening. Hope you all have a profitable week, and we'll be back for the preview for Week 7 on Friday.